It's morning, man. I'm tired and not really sure what the talk's about. So, yeah. I thought, hey, you know what? Not everybody wants to talk about being on the truck all the time. Not everybody. I mean, that shouldn't be your life, right? We should be more work-life balanced in the fact that that we we aren't on the truck all the time, right? We're at home doing things, having fun. So I guess the question I have out to everybody to help me out this morning is, what do you do to distract yourself? What do you do to entertain yourself? Both maybe on the truck while you're waiting for calls, or when you're at home and you're on your days off. What do you do? What do you craft? What do you play? I play video games and I look at TikTok a lot, and I like memes and different things. So that's what I'm going to start talking about. And if you got something to throw in here, throw it in here, because, we all need a distraction from time to time, and we all need motivation to get out there and do something. And to me, having a good laugh, having a good moment of refreshing energy that changes your brain up, that helps out. So good morning, medics. We're going to kick this off groggily, if we will. Thanks for tuning in. I see people are jumping in like, hey, thanks for that, man. I don't know if you caught my podcast from last week. I went to a protest and had an interesting conversation, and that was not live. It was all pre-recorded. But you can find that at anchor.fm/EMS Underground, and it was an interesting thing. So first off, I'm over at the Savage Paramedics page on Facebook, which is a lot of times pretty funny. And the first meme here is, I hate when people confuse education with intelligence. You can have a degree and still be an idiot. And isn't that the truth, right? I I have definitely worked for people, not necessarily currently, but I've definitely worked for people when I was on the ambulance and in other situations that had degrees and had education, and they were dumb as a rock. You can have education in no sense. You can have book learning and no real life basis for anything. And that always gets to me. And I tried to always be a balance. We go through EMT school, paramedic school, and all that jazz, and we know the basics. I think that's part of what the term is different in the street than in the school comes from. And that's been bastardized, and it's not really true, because the way techniques are taught in school are the way you should do them in the field, and laws and rules and all that stuff is appropriate in the field as it is in the school. But I think maybe because of that whole book learning versus intelligence, education doesn't mean you're smart. Education just means you read more, you spent more time in school, you memorized more. Smart is figuring out how to do things with your education. Because we all had to have some education, right? We all had to go through EMT school, advanced school, or paramedic school, or intermediate, or whatever you are in life, and get some technical learning. So first thing you do is talk about your degree. Then I'm like, I'm out. I'm kind of this way too. They have another meme here on Savage Paramedics on Facebook. I'm at the point in my life where caffeine has no effect on how tired I am. I drink it only to avoid a soul-crushing headache. That's not necessarily me. I definitely, Mondays, man. Mondays are the worst. I tell you, you're on the truck, that's one of the best schedules, even if you're working the California shifts. I worked 24/48s, and thank you, Nathan. Get the education on. How you doing, Nathan? But I worked 24/48s, but I was at a slower service, so we got to sleep okay many times, and that was just the best schedule. You worked one whole day, right, where some of it was sleeping, some of it was eating, some of it was playing PlayStation, whatever, and you ran some calls and you helped people. and then you had 2 days off. And if you wanted to go on vacation or something, you didn't really have to burn a whole lot of time. You just would swap with somebody and take that day off in the middle. So you have 2 days off, 1 day on, 2 days off. We swap with somebody, so you work it either before you leave or at a later date for them. And you have 5 days off without ever having to take pay. Take time off, take a PTO or whatever. It's a great schedule to be able to earn money. Because man, I'm an entrepreneur. I am the man. Hey Barb, I am the man that is not built to work for other people. I'm just not. And it's taken me a long time to figure that out. And being a medic didn't feel like I'm working for other people, because as an EMT advanced or medic, even I was an EMT intermediate. Then I was a paramedic. Now I'm an advanced. And I know that's kind of a backward step, but it's a long story that I've told before. But being in medicine, while yes, somebody basically sets your schedule and you show up on that shift, that's just more of a, in my mind, it's this is when we need you, and you're needed, and you plug in at that time thing. And yeah, not all the bosses out there, Tom, and I don't want your old management brain kicking in and going, no, you gotta be on time. You gotta show. No. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that at all. But it just feels like when you're on the ambulance, you work for yourself more, because I chose that path to do emergency medicine. I chose to work at that particular location. With your EMT numbers, you can practically go anywhere you want. Now, EMT versus advanced, there's more demand for advanced. And advanced versus paramedic, there's more demand for paramedic. But that being said, you can practically go, especially with the more experience you get, you can practically go anywhere you want. And so I did. I loved being on the truck, because it felt like I was working for myself. I showed up. My boss didn't show up to make sure I was there, watching his watch, clocking me in. I mean, some services I never saw my boss hardly. Other services, even my lieutenants, other services, I'd see, like when I was at National, I'd see Huey usually once a day, once in the morning, once during the shift, during the week, which might be at most twice. But if it was the weekend, he wouldn't come by and pick up paperwork. He'd pick it up on Monday on his way into the office. So, I had to be self-starting. I had to drive myself. I had to hold my own standards. And I loved that. I loved it so much. And I've never worked a California shift, and I'm still wrapping my brain around it, because I haven't experienced it. It's hard for me to quite get my brain wrapped around it. But it's you work 3 12s and you're off 4, then you work 4 12s and you're off 3, something like that. So what I'm saying is if you feel like you need to leave the field, be careful where you go. Because Tom already knows this. It kills me. It kills me to be working for the weekend. I'm doing Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, working for the week. I hate it, man. I hate it. And not because of the school. It's not because of who I'm working for. I love working for the people I'm working for, and I love doing what I'm doing. I get to do this. I get to sit here and be an ass on the screen and on the camera and get paid for it. You got to figure out who you are. Not everybody's cut out for the schedules I was just talking about. Maybe you need more of a set schedule at a hospital or a doctor's office. One of the things and I knew just randomly digging through stuff would give me something to talk about and tell stories on for a minute. I was more worried about money instead of managing my money. I was more worried about making money when I was early in paramedic medicine. And I was working for a very slow service. I was in National EMS in Morgan County in the early 2000s. And so, it just, call volume's not there. And they pay appropriately. It hurt. It paid less money than I would ever like, to be honest with you. But it wasn't a huge stipend, and it wasn't a huge call volume. So I could have gone to Grady. I could have gone to rural Metro, had DeKalb County then. I could have gone more into the city and gotten more pay, and I didn't. And that was just telling me, but I always wanted to stay close to home. I wanted what I thought would be the easier path, easier demand on my time and myself. Because I always had side stuff. I've always I had a band at one point. Always played video games, so I wanted that time. So anyway, my wife was working at the hospital, and she's working Monday through Friday, and she was doing I think 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift as a ER secretary, and I was working on the ambulance 2448s. So then I ended up going to Georgia Pacific to be their safety officer, which paid really good money, and I was a token wife. I was a trophy wife, man. I was there just so they could say we have a paramedic on staff and they're our safety officer, but I didn't feel like I was making a difference. Now, whether they listened to me or not, I don't know. I was young, so there was some of that too, right? I was young, thought I knew everything. Um, so I'm not going to disparage them at all. And I definitely learned lessons while I was there, but there was times when it felt like all they really wanted me to do was sit in my office and just disappear and just be there in name. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't the right gig for me. And I made decent money, but at the same time, I pressured my wife into leaving the hospital because I didn't like how they were treating her. They were treating her very poorly. They had it was bad. It was bad. And there's some stories I don't even want to tell right now. That's how bad some of that was. And so she went to a lawyer's office who was impressed with how a lawyer came into the ER and he had been hurt and he's impressed at how she did everything, offered her a job. And so she took it and went to be a secretary for that lawyer. And so now we went from working these disparaging shifts to saying, okay, so I would manage my time to be anything I'm gonna do for myself, like play PlayStation or practice with the band or whatever I do when she was at work. So when we're together, we're together. And this isn't the first couple of years of our marriage. And so I'm doing that as an EMT, and then she's doing the same thing. It's like if I'm working a weekend, she could go off with her mom, and they love doing stuff that I didn't really want to go do. I didn't want to go up to North Georgia hiking in the middle of summer or whatever. And so, we had this balance in life. So we went from those separate different schedules to working the exact same schedule, basically 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and getting home at the same time. And that was the other thing. When we had those separate schedules, I could cook her dinner and bring it up to her at the hospital and have dinner with her. And and she could do the same thing. She could come visit me at the station and hang out and surprise me. There was, and then we could take that time off and go to Biloxi on the weekends or whenever, right? So yeah, just, I'm not trying to avoid a soul crushing headache with my coffee, but it is habits. It is habits. And Mondays, I started to say Mondays are very tiring for me for some reason now. I think it's because I don't like working this locked in hard schedule. To be honest, I'm a creator. Sometimes I want to do a show at 2:00 in the morning. Sometimes I just want to spend all day playing my video games. Some days I got some conventions coming up, supposedly. They haven't been canceled yet, and they've actually been confirming me coming. So I've got 2 conventions in July, and that'll be interesting. But that's the kind of thing I like doing. So do what you love, but understand the schedule that you have. See how it would work for you. Because like I said, I could have just changed up. I could have got a second job. I could have stayed full-time at the slower job, got a part-time gig at a busier place that would pay me the same, if not more, and manage your money better instead of just changing your life. Now, the path I took is the path I took, and it is exactly where I need to be right here, right now. But yeah, let's see what else we can pull up out of some memes. I'm going to miss that one. I've been there. Me dealing with my coworkers, family, and life in general is like, I'm trying so hard not to be an asshole to you guys, okay? Just please work with me here. And that's because we get frustrated, right? We get frustrated with life. We let things build up inside our heads, and that's bad, man. You've got to talk it out. You've got to vent to somebody. You've got to let things go to a point. I mean, there's some things that are going to build up and be things, but I remember having arguments with my wife that weren't really about me and my wife. They were really because I was frustrated with something at work. And that's the other thing, too. Choose who you vent to wisely. Because just like with my wife and the hospital and the way she was treated, she was venting to me about how that was. Well, I get mad and I get defensive and I start wanting to protect her and start trying to pull her out of there. She did the same thing to me, as she will today. If I start venting and complaining about somebody I work with or something that's been done, she'll want to protect me. And it's because it's easy when you're not in that situation and you're not managing it yourself. It's like, well, you should just do something different. You should blah blah blah. You should do this. You should do that. Well, it's not that easy. And sometimes venting is just venting. And we've both learned that throughout the years. She and I, we've both learned that venting is just venting. But yeah, there's definitely some times, especially with my kids. It's like I am trying so hard. All right, so I piled my kids into my car last night to go take them to McDonald's as a little breakout treat. Right, we went through the drive-through McDonald's, and I've got a small sedan basically. So my oldest was in the front seat with me. My wife was off somewhere, dealing with some family business, and then no, Crosby was in the front seat with me. Oakland was in the back seat, and then the two little ones. And there's enough seat belts, and they're all big enough that they could fit just right. Well, all of my kids, their entire lives, the rule has been keep your hands to yourself in the car because they start bouncing back and forth. They start shaking it. They start leaning over the seats. They start slapping each other. They get pissed off. No, don't do it. And yet, my youngest is 7 now. Yeah, because Rylan's going to be 9 here this fall. So she's 7. So for at least the bare minimum of 7 years, they've been told this rule, and yet they get into it. And I'm like, we're not even getting to the drive-thru yet. And I told them, I was like, you know what, y'all, I'll go buy food for everybody else who's behaving. Y'all aren't gonna get any food. You're gonna go to bed hungry. And they stopped. But it's this. It's. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Just work with me here. I like this phrase. Leadership is not about being the best. Leadership is about making everyone else better. And I do like that. I think that's just good being a good human being, to be honest with you. Um, if we're not here to make each other better, why are we here? If you're not learning from other people and what they do and how they are, both negatively and positively, then you're not paying attention in life. I keep trying to help. I just see that Suzanne Ward. Now it's probably been a while, but Suzanne Ward and 8,000 other people like that. But it's that's how I've always been. Is what can I do to help you do what you do better? And maybe not always. I don't know. Maybe there was just a time I took from people, but I feel like that's been a theme in my life for as long as I can remember. Is what you're doing is awesome. How can I help you do it better? Or how can I be a part of that so it can be better? Or how can I learn to do it too? Those kind of things. So leadership is not about being the best. Leadership is about making everyone else better. And I would say it's not about making everyone else better, because that can even be referred to forcing people to do things and tough love and lessons. And while as a boss and as a parent, there are times when we have to set down lines. We have to force people to do things. Absolutely. As a paramedic, we have to do that, right? We have to pull rank and get people in line in our truck, or we have to restrain the patient because it's for their better good. I would say leadership is about enabling everyone else to be better, setting up those opportunities, giving them ways to do it themselves, listening to who they are and what they want to be better at. I think that's good leadership. Oh yeah, I've been there on the truck. The button on my pants watching me eat another snack, and it's this dude just head down. We do that way too much, and it's way too easy on the ambulance to get snacks, right? To get that sugary drink instead of the healthy drink, to get that Snickers bar. What's up, Mike? How you doing this morning? Yeah, man, it is just way too, especially, I think in every service. You can justify it everywhere you are. You're busy at AMR in the cab, and you get stationed at Quick Trip for the only 30 minutes of your day, and you buy 3 or 4 Snickers bars and some chips and a couple of sodas and stock up your truck that way. It's just unhealthy, and we do that all the time. I did it constantly, and then you go all the way out to I the one that popped in my head was the main station in Madison back when I worked there, and there are days you wouldn't even turn a wheel, and you're bored, and you go looking for something to eat, and it's just yeah. Yeah, we gotta be proactive on that. Skipping some of these. I'm not a coworker you should ever put on speakerphone ever. It's a great meme. I my wife does that. She'll answer the phone and go, "You're on speakerphone." Like, all right, fine. Because there's, you never know. Sometimes it's just an honest, direct conversation, and sometimes I get frisky and froggy and say things. But one of the things I love to play. Now, here's a game you can play with your partner to distract yourself, both on the call, not on a call. I'm sorry, waiting for a call or at the station or whatever. And that is make up the conversation on your side. I used to do this with Jennifer Elliott. Loved working with Jennifer Elliott. She was one of the best people I worked with. And you sound like my daughter. I'm talking to myself, Mike, about the snacks. I'm talking to myself, man. I've had to make some adjustments because I'm not liking where I am right now in life with my health. Anyway, so here's the game you can play. Is they'll be on a phone conversation with somebody, right? And you can't necessarily hear, or they have the earpiece in, and they'll say something, and you just kind of quietly respond back to them. And so, like, the start of the conversation, yeah, hey, how you doing today? And you just quietly sitting next to them, yeah, no, I'm good, thanks for asking. And they don't quite register it because you're talking lower and you're talking quieter, and you just keep talking to their to them as they're talking to somebody else, and just say some crazy ass stuff like, yeah, no, I don't know, what are you up to today? And like, well, I was going to take off my pants and sit here naked watching Terminator, but I got this partner sitting next to me who probably wouldn't appreciate that. And I used to do my best to make her laugh until she'd get up and leave the room. And so that's always fun. But yeah, speakerphone, there are definitely people in this life you don't put on speakerphone, or you at least warn them you're on speakerphone. Let's see. Until you work food or retail, you'll never understand the level of stupid that exists in this world. Healthcare says, hold my beer. I worked all of those. So I absolutely worked retail at Walmart in the toy department when Tickle Me Elmo came out as the big Christmas gift. And yeah, it blew my mind. How people just thought the world revolved around them and that the world was magic, and go in the back and get one. No, I'm telling you, there are none in the back. No, go back. So I'd go back and sit there for a few minutes, come back. It's like, no, there's none in the back. And they wanted a manager, and they wanted and you start off, I think it goes retail, food, and then healthcare as far as worse. Which one's worse as far as stupid people. So retail, because there's a lot of people in retail that just couldn't find it. Okay, thanks. Or they get mad at you. But it's understandable. It's Christmas time or whatever. You're looking for this one thing that you're trying to find and buy, and it's a mass-produced item. Okay. You're calling around and maybe getting frustrated because you called a bunch of places. Food, I worked at Chick-fil-A, and it was during Christmas time. I don't exactly remember the call that I got, but I was acting manager that day. And I think somebody came in the mall, and I hate the mall, right? And I worked at Chick-fil-A in the mall, and one of the stores came down for a big order of biscuits. Well, we stopped serving breakfast at 10:30, which means we stopped making it. We make enough to get us through 10:30. About 10 to 10:15 is when you stop making breakfast. So no more biscuits are being cooked, and no more little chickens are being cooked and all that jazz, right? And so they came down, and we cleared out the bins. Like, this is all we have. And they wanted, let's say, 8 biscuits. We had 6 biscuits. And the person who came was like, yeah, okay, thanks, And it was like, because it was like 10:40. I mean, it was clearly after breakfast time was over. We just happened to have some left, and they got what we had left. And I got an ugly phone call cussing me out from that store that came to get them, from one person, about how can we not have chicken biscuits? Like, I tried to be nice and professional, and they were just dicks. And I was like, it's food. It's food that you didn't take the appropriate time to get to, asshat. God forbid I come in there when you're about to close and say, I want an eye exam. It was like Lens Crafters or something. One, you overcharge for all your stuff at Lens Crafters, you pirate thieving bunch of bitches. But secondly, if you're closing or you ran out of a certain eyeglass case, or, God, have you ever gone to get eyeglasses? If you've not gotten eyeglasses, this is a process. You go in, you get the exam. First time you ever go in, you get the exam, right? All right, we found out you need glasses. Go pick out frames that are stupid expensive. They're retarded expensive. I mean, there's no way frames cost that much money. Well, they're designer. Bitch, I'm going to put them on my face to see the world clearly. I don't see the frames. Shut up. So you've got that going on. And then it takes like 6 weeks to get your glasses back. So you've had headaches. You've had reason to go get your eyes checked for the first time ever. And then they get checked. Oh yeah, you do need glasses. Then you got to wait 6 weeks, and they're mad because they came late to get breakfast. So yeah, that's that second level to me of like, it's food, man. You can get a sandwich, you can do something else. Screw you, dude. And then healthcare, right? We get some of the craziest calls, in healthcare, and unfortunately, it's stuff that this is where it's the dumbest thing, right? It's the level of stupid because the calls we get, the dumb ones, are the ones where people have unintentionally hurt themselves or done something that led themselves to be hurt. You watch the skateboard videos, that come across social media where people are breaking arms and stuff. You see what is it when people jump from building to building? Parkour. The parkour videos that go wrong. You see those. I mean, the worst one I ever was around, I didn't even run it, was a gentleman who did a 4D cell mag light, which is a really big metal mag light with no give to it and grips on the side. And he put it up his booty hole, and he perforated his intestine and ended up dying within a week after he came to the hospital because he couldn't get it out. And then they surgically removed it, but he'd already had some sepsis. And yeah, it was bad. He got an infection. So yeah, healthcare definitely says hold my beer. What's something you might say after sex and also after 75 days of quarantine? I don't know. Let's see some of these comments, shall we? No, quarantine is not over. You still have to stay locked in my attic and be quiet. The looters are back. oh, that's Genevieve. Yeah. I mean, most of these are not that funny. My alcoholism is the only reason this was tolerable. All right. Okay, yeah, the comments went where I thought they would. It was just mostly negative stuff. That's kind of funny. That first one was really funny. All right, what's the dumbest thing you did as a kid? Wished I was an adult? No kidding, right? Is it me or does time move differently when you're an adult? When you're a kid, you could do a million things and 30 minutes has passed by. And now as an adult, I'll do two things and my whole day is gone. It's like, what is up with that? What is going on? One of the biggest, dumbest things, though, that I did as a kid was I wanted to dunk, right? As an era of Michael Jordan. And I wanted to dunk. And so I pulled up a ladder next to my basketball goal in my driveway, and I jumped off the ladder and hung on the rim and ripped the rim right off the goal and fell on the ground and had the metal rim hit me in the head. That could explain a lot. Well, okay, so can't believe it's already June. Time really flies when the whole world is falling apart. But really, I mean, that goes back to the thing you're saying as a kid, right? I mean, dude, I can remember playing for an hour or two and then somehow I have my whole day ahead of me, going, oh, we just did a whole lot of stuff. Wow, only an hour has passed by, whatever. And definitely, I mean, time flies all the time now. Every time we hit a new month, it's 2020. I can remember what I was doing in 2018. I can remember where I was in 2013. And it's just like, wow, we turn around, it's June. We're almost halfway through the year. Technically, when July starts, we're halfway through the year, right? You start month 7, you get past 6 months, and you're halfway through. So we're almost halfway through the year already, and it just started. So weird. I can remember doing a New Year's Eve party at not Hudson Grill, at Hobnob in Buckhead. And for New Year's Eve, yeah. I can't wait to go home tonight. Me 4 minutes after arriving to work. Yeah, and that makes for a bad day. And that's probably where I'm going to stop it here. But that definitely makes for a bad day when you get to work ready to go home. And I usually try to quit at that point and do something different or find something to change in my life. If I'm wanting to call out sick or if I'm getting to work and I don't mean one day. I mean, when those one days build up to 3, 5 every shift that you get there, you need to change it up. You need to do something different. Now that might just be finding new hobbies. I had at Georgia Pacific, I had a supervisor talk to me about hobbies and how I had to make time for myself. Because I was going back to that story I told earlier about how my wife and I were working the exact same schedule all the time. We're just, dinner wasn't getting made because neither one of us was available. And so somebody had to come home tired to make dinner, and we tried to swap it up, but you're both tired. Uh, you know, we were both living for the weekends, which means we had to plan around her mom. It just junked up life, and we weren't adjusting very well. And my supervisor at Georgia Pacific said to me, he goes, every day I go home, maybe not every day, but he goes home, he sits on his back patio, he gets home an hour before his wife does. And he takes that time to smoke a good cigar, maybe drink, a small scotch or something, and just chill, just reflect on the day, just be quiet. That was his thing, just to be quiet, look at the yard. But he made time for himself, because whatever that is for you, you gotta make time for yourself. And actually, I've actually stolen a lot of that. There's times I'll go out and sit by the fire pit, especially in the spring and the fall. I'll go sit by the fire pit and just smoke a cigar. The weather's nice, it's beautiful, and you're just chilling out. It's letting you just relax your mind, let things go. I like playing video games. I play a lot of Call of Duty now, the Modern Warfare and the Warzone stuff. But I also swap it up. I also like to play this thing called XCOM. So you've got shoot fast, focus on different things. I also have, if I've been like lecturing a whole lot and I'm focused, the thing that I'll relax my mind with is XCOM, which is a strategy, slow, turn-based, take your time, figure it out thing. It works different sides of the brain, right? And so you just have to make time for yourself. And in this day and age, right now, and this is the right now for any time you're in, to be honest with you, is always make time for yourself. Find a way to wind down after work. That can be fairly quickly if you have to go back the next day, right? Alcohol is a bad thing as far as winding down, because it just doesn't. It makes you sleep different. It messes with your brain different. I like alcohol. Don't get me wrong. I drink my share of it. But scientifically speaking, if you go home and you have a shot or two, or you pound a couple of beers to wind down, it's shifting your metabolism and it's shifting your brain to where you're not getting good, healthy sleep. You might be passing out quicker because of it, but you really need, I found that out the hard way, not the alcohol part, but I found out the hard way about winding down. I worked overnights for a while at Newton, ER. And so I'd go from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I'm getting off work, the sun's coming up, and my wife has been sleeping most of the night or whatever, all night. And I'm getting home, I'm trying to go right to bed because I got to get up at, 4 something in the afternoon, 5 something, I guess 5 something in the afternoon, so I can leave by 6:15 to be at work by 7 that night. And I worked 6 days on. And I was trying to go right to bed, and it just wasn't doing good. It wasn't working good. And I finally realized I need to come home, watch maybe a 30-minute show of nothingness, right? Nothing that challenges me or excites me or oh my God, I got to see the next one. Just a comedy, a sitcom, something that means nothing, just to let my brain kind of wind down and get tired. Because who goes to work and comes home and goes right to bed? Most of us don't do that. Even on 12-hour shifts, most of us don't do that. And you're really talking 14 hours almost, right? Because for me, it was at least 45 minutes to work, 30 to 45 minutes to work to drive, and then you get your 12 hours on the clock, then 30 to 45 home. So you're talking 13 and a half, 14 hours of being on. And you really need about 8 hours sleep. So yeah, you just have to find ways to wind down, to take time for yourself. Make time for yourself. Make those windows of peace, of rest, I've had to get off social media a lot. Lately, I haven't shut down my accounts and walked away from social media, but I'm not checking it very often. I'm staying away from it. It's too much ugliness in the world, too much stuff that messes with me and makes me tired and makes my soul hurt. So I just chill out from that. Take a break from things. Find different things to do. I've got the dumbest games I play that will never pay me, but these games for cash where I'm just mashing a button, watching ads. They're paying me to watch ads. And the closer you get to the payout number of $100, the less the payouts are, right? It's just going to just take you forever. But I don't care about that. It's just something to do with my brain that's different. That's not watching news or reminiscing about that last call I ran or what do I have to do tomorrow. It's just a dumb game that means nothing. So find your way out, find your way through, find something fun to do. My wife and I will find TV we can watch together and games we can play together that aren't challenging. I'm a gamer, so I'll find games that are challenging. But for us, it's just something to enjoy doing together. As long as she's happy, I'm happy. Even if that means she just loves sitting there with the controller and I'm watching her. it's time together, and I'm helping her with strategies, and every once in a while she'll hand me the controller to get through a hard part. Find something different to do. Love yourself, because you have to do that if you're going to love the world. And that meme about healthcare says, hold my beer, I can show you, stupid. Yeah. That's the world we work in. That's the world we live in. That's the world we service. And it's so hard to do that job if we can't get our rest and we can't love ourselves first. So that's going to be it for today. If you got something you want me to talk about, you got some thoughts to share, you want to argue with me, fine. I'll even have you on the show. We'll zoom in and we'll have a debate about something, or we'll have you share different points of view, whatever you want to do. You can get to me through that email right there at the bottom of the screen, charles@gaiems.com. You can check that out there. And on the podcast, the same thing. It's Charles@G as in go, A as in apple, I as in indigo, E as in Edward, M as in Mike, S as in Sam.com, GAIEMS.com. So yeah, come let me know what you want to hear, what you want to talk about. Be safe out there, have fun, and make some time for yourself.